Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I didn't want to make a video. I wanted to just do a live stream because it's easier to just go over charts. Plus, I had a lot of people asking me to cover different things in my last update. So everybody, wait a second for everybody to get in here. Drop your comments. Anybody that has any questions, anybody that wants altcoins covered today. I didn't get to cover as many in my last update because I was streaming with my friend Dallin. So if you guys have altcoins, if you have anything you want me to cover, just drop them inside of the comments and we'll get to all of those as soon as possible. Make sure, how's my audio? Everything sound good? Make sure it's, oops. All right, everything appears to be good. All righty. Okay, everybody drop your coins you want covered right now. And I'm going to start and go through drop your coins and I'm going to jump on some other charts and then give you guys a second to kind of get in here and then give you a market update. So let me go ahead here, share my screen. Let's go trading view. All righty, guys. Let's start here for today. Let's make sure my screen looks good. Okay, cool. So let's start out with Bitcoin. Take a look at this real quick. Analyze what we're seeing here. So what I updated on, like I posted on YouTube because I wasn't able to upload yesterday. I had family in town. But more or less what I was looking at were these two candles right here, which if I zoom in, right here. These two red candles are what's known as bearish pin bar candles. So it kind of forms this little handle where you have the head of a wick, and then you have a longer tail wick, and then you have this little candle body. And oftentimes it's a rejection candle before we end up seeing downside. So we're kind of in a tricky point just because of the fact we've already made such a big flush to the downside. The question kind of comes, well, are we going to bottom right here, or are we going to make one more flush at this range low right around like 54K? So that's kind of what I'm watching for right now, just mainly around these two candles, because as it stands, they are a little bit more bearish. But a lot can change, guys. We have, the Ethereum ETF that's going to be trading this month. So we can expect to see a lot of volatility, and we are just right below that resistance. But as you guys can tell, the same level that we've kind of been holding below up to this point, it was deviation there. We retested it over here. We rejected and fell below it here. And we've retested this level a number of different times, had a couple false breakouts right there and right there. But for the most part, we haven't been able to get a clear breakout above that. So until we can get back above, we should just expect that, we're going to go through a decent amount of chop. We could very easily end up revisiting these range lows, just depending on what the rest of the market does. But at the end of the day, stock market's still really, performing well overall. Kind of unfortunate that the SPX is actually into a new all-time high, yet crypto and everything is kind of falling apart, which really, I didn't expect that, just mainly because Bitcoin has such a big correlation to the actual stock market. So with it breaking out and going into a brand new all-time high, I was expecting that Bitcoin was actually going to hold up around that, and we were unable to actually do so. So we're going to see what happens with Bitcoin down here at the range lows. But the big thing we need to pay attention for right over in here, I want you guys to pay attention for this bullish divergence, because we haven't seen this level of divergence. I'm going to collapse this MACD so it's easier to see, but we haven't had this level of bearish or bullish divergence in a long time. This lower low and a higher high on the RSI, we can go back and look at the last few examples of when this has happened. The last time we had any bullish divergence was right here, once we actually broke out of 25K, flipped it as new support. And it was at the very bottom of this correction right here, where we kind of made it was a small lower low, but it was technically a lower low. And we can see that that was the last time that we had this. We can come over here and look at our cycle low from where we bottomed at the bear market low. And we can see that we also formed the exact same thing. So we don't get too many of these bullish divergences that actually form on the higher time frames. There has been a few examples. Here's another example of one where we have, the RSI holding support while it's actually making lower lows. So as it stands, seeing Bitcoin making this pattern again, it gives me confidence that the bottom is close to being in. I think worst case scenario for Bitcoin, we reject right here and sweep the range lows that we just made at like 54, 53 and a half, somewhere right around there, before we bottom, because this level of bullish divergence really doesn't form often. we don't actually even end up retesting this 25 level on the RSI very often either. And every time we've ever hit this level or gone lower, it's marked a significant reversal point. Right here was an example. That was where we reversed there. The cycle low was here. Right here we retested it again. That was the very bottom of that capitulation. And so this is the first time we've actually hit the 25 level on this daily RSI since all the way 300 days ago. It's actually over 300 days. So that to me is a lot more bullish than anything. I'm personally still focusing on buying rather than selling right now, because what we're looking at here is some type of major cycle low, in my opinion. Now let's jump back over here. We got some comments, questions. We got some tickers. Let's cover them real quickly. All right, the first one, I don't even know what this is, but we're going to go look at it. I'm going to have to change and go to a different screen real quick. You're going to have to go to Dex Tools, or Dex Screener, I mean. All righty, so if we come over here and look at Shiv, you're going to have to tell me if this is even the right one, because I don't know. Which chain is it on? Are you talking about the one on Pulse? Are you talking about the one on Solana? Are you talking about the one on Ethereum? These two are probably the same. We'll start with this one. Let me go back through here real quick. Who are you? Clang Smash. If you're watching, comment which chain so I know which one we're looking at here. But either way, let's jump into this one. Where are we at? Well, right here. Okay. So we're going to go to a daily. If this is the one you're talking about. So here's the thing with meme coins right now, guys, and it doesn't really matter which chain you're looking at currently. I really do believe that meme coins are going to continue to do their thing over this cycle. But where we're at right now, assuming Bitcoin is at that reversal point, we're probably not going to get much better opportunities to get entries than where we're at, currently. So the thing with meme coins is I think that focusing on the specific chain is probably the best strategy right now. Most meme coins you're going to see kind of look something like this, where they've had these big hype cycles back here a couple months ago, and then they've basically fully retraced. So based off of this chart pattern, I can't really say a heck of a lot about it because I don't know the project itself. But whenever you're looking at a lot of these cycles that have mostly fully retraced this pump, we can see this type of price action. This actually kind of looks like a Wyckoff, where we have the low, high, low, high, and then we get the third spring-loaded bounce. Oftentimes, this can be a reversal point, but with the meme coins, it's hard to say, guys. I always say you're better off waiting for confirmation around Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin reverses, and Solana and Ethereum and all of the other chains bottom, then at that point, that's when you're looking at the meme coins. You could gamble and catch the falling knife down in here, because obviously the ROI is going to be really, much higher than anything else. But if you're talking about that, yeah, it's 24x to the all-time high, but if you're wrong and this thing just dies, then you're kind of screwed out of all your money. So that's the big thing to be aware of when it comes to trading the meme coins. All righty, let's get some higher cap cryptos. All right, we got Pulse next. Let's cover Pulse chain. I have a lot of people that have been asking me about this. We're already on Dex Screener, so we're going to go over here and look at Pulse. So wrapped Pulse. So when we're looking at this, we've pretty much fully retraced all the way back down to our cycle low. I was expecting that we were going to hold support somewhere up in here once we started giving this heavy bullish divergence, but we were unable to do that. In fact, we actually broke below what I was showing over in here, and we weren't able to actually hold that trend. However, it still is technically bullish divergence all the way through here. It hasn't really changed because this is still uptrending on the shorter time frames. So the reason I like Pulse at these levels is because out of a layer one, you're not going to get such a great risk to reward entry than what you're seeing with Pulse. Now, you got everybody that's going to hate on Richard Hart. A lot of people just hate on anything that guy does. Understandably so. I mean, I'm not going to even deny the fact the guy's obnoxious. However, he has created a lot of value. There's a lot of really important narratives that are built on Pulse chain, like the Atropa ecosystem, D.I.Y, and all of that I think that there's going to be a significant amount of hype. Not only that, but when Pulse chain went live, he actually took a screenshot of the entire Ethereum blockchain. So Chainlink and Pepe and, Optimism and Metis and all of these other altcoins that were existing on the Ethereum chain at that time, they actually got duplicated onto Pulse chain. So what we see in Pulse chain is a number of these tokens that if you were holding them, for example, I was holding Chainlink in the last cycle, still am. I got my Chainlink duplicated, and now I have a copied version, a forked version over on Pulse chain. They don't have any necessarily high value, but my however much it was, $60,000 or $70,000 worth of Chainlink, or maybe even more. I don't know exactly when that screenshot went live. I have like a few $100s sitting over there inside of the forked version. So there's going to be a lot of people that have money from the Pulse Chain airdrop, and they're going to run over there and actually look to actually bridge, sell, take profits, or look to speculate on some of these investments. So I think that there's enough narratives on Pulse Chain to really propel the price as we're sitting at these range lows with all of those same narratives in effect. You're talking a pretty good risk to reward, looking at almost a 4x back to the range high. And at this point, nothing has changed. We've still technically made higher highs. If this thing was to drop and actually break below and go into a new all-time low, then that would completely invalidate this Elliott wave count that I have drawn up here, where we have 5 waves to the upside, ABC correction back down. But the thing people need to remember is inside of the first Elliott wave cycle, oftentimes the wave 2 is going to fully retrace, or it can actually retrace up to 99.99%. So it can go as low as the actual cycle low without making a new all-time low and still hold market structure. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. The MACD has been bottomed since all the way over in this period. The OBV is actually making hidden bullish divergence with a lower low, yet the price is still maintaining higher highs. The RSI has maintained like 3 or 4 higher highs at this point. And then, obviously the MACD is broken out of descending resistance right here. It's been uptrending as Pulse is going down. So in my opinion, the momentum is definitely leaning towards the bulls. We're going to see a reversal off of this cycle low. I don't think we're going to be going into a new all-time low, especially as the whole SEC lawsuit around Richard Hart has more or less been scrapped. All the details have came out recently. That is pretty much water under the bridge. And I'm really expecting that we're going to see a much bigger move coming very soon. The second that Ethereum bottoms, we're going to see Pulse Chain bottom. We're going to see the other layer ones bottom. And so that's the big thing that we need to pay attention for with this. I still think that we're going to be, reversing big picture. So let's come down here, look at some more questions. I really like your analysis of the bridge narrative this cycle. Can you talk more about Stargate? I noticed it looked a lot like 2021 Runecoin, another bridge that launched before Stargate. Yeah, that's a good point. So one of my favorite things that are narratives, I guess you could say, that I'm watching for is going to be bridges, because as money moves on chain, the big thing that we have issues with is like, we've got all these different blockchains, right? We've got Solana, we've got Ethereum, we've got Optimism, Arbitrum, Metis, Pulse Chain. There's a Base now. There's a number of these different layer 1s and layer 2s in the market, yet we can't just directly send a token from Ethereum to Optimism or from, Pulse Chain over to this other one, because they're their own separate blockchain. So what I think is actually going to be a significant narrative to be following is just simply the token bridges. Any token bridge that allows you to, let me try and find a better chart here. Any token bridge that allows you to actually, send tokens from one chain to another, I think because of the amount of volumes that are going to be trading on chain. With all of the FTX collapse, with many of the centralized lenders, in the last cycle, I'm really leaning towards a lot of this money consolidating to on-chain opportunities. And we're kind of just waiting for this Ethereum ETF to, start trading. And that's when I think a lot of that money is actually going to go on chain. So when we're looking at what are the best bridges, how we can actually swap money or send it from one chain to another, that's going to be the token bridges. And so for me, Stargate is one of my favorite ones. And it's currently sitting all the way back down here at its cycle low. It's a really great buying opportunity. It got listed on MEXC, and that was what this pump was. But we ended up just pretty much pulling back from there. So when I look at this, I'm honestly looking at the long term of Stargate as kind of being in a Wyckoff, which I'm going to come over here and share a different screen. Let's go and grab CoinGecko. So if we come over here and look at Stargate, this will give us the all-time graph so that we can actually look at it, because that wasn't showing you everything. So if we come over here, we can pretty much see that we're sitting all the way back down here at these cycle lows. We have had lower price points. This was 35 cents, but we're pretty much right there at that same level. So when I'm looking at this is probably the best buy out of all of the different token bridges that we have. But I see I think that Stargate itself is going to benefit well, mainly because it's built on layer 0, which most of you guys probably don't know what layer 0 even is. Layer 0 is a new blockchain that recently came out. I honestly think that it's going to get a lot of upside potential. A lot of big projects have partnered or either built on layer 0. So Stargate Finance is actually built on it, and it's the main token bridge built there. I've already used it. It works really great. And so, a lot of these, even though they're at their cycle lows and they haven't done anything, we can see that this thing's just ranged sideways forever. I really do believe that in the same ways that many of my altcoins in the last cycle did nothing, or I was down 50, 60, 70+% at one time, when they're just going through this, The second that the money comes in, you're just going to see these giant green candles that take us all the way back up to these range highs. This thing will make a big breakout. It'll probably run up to $2 and $3. It'll sell off, retest this dollar range at these prior highs, and then it's just going to send it into a new all-time high. I don't care about the short-term price. I don't care about being down in the short term, because if I'm researching good projects with strong fundamentals, they're built on good chains that I think are going to take off in a big way, I don't really care so much about holding down, 50, 60% or so, because the amount of times I've been down massively on an asset only for that thing to go up a 25, 50, 100x plus, it happens more times than it doesn't in these cycles, because it's so hard to know when the exact bottom is. And with altcoins specifically, they're going to keep kind of trending lower as Bitcoin's deciding itself, especially when we're below those prior all-time highs. So I have a lot more confidence by being able to buy things, watch them go down in value, and still being able to hold, because I'm telling you guys, once the hype sets in, the breakouts are so big, they happen so fast, that that's really the only thing that matters. Sure, you're going to pick some that aren't going to really do as well as you thought, but for the most part, I still think you guys are going to outperform if you just have the patience. The issue is most people get into the market and then they don't have the patience to keep holding. So they're just kind of stuck there. They buy something, maybe they see it pump, maybe they see some guy they like talk about it. So then they go buy it. It starts dropping. It's down 30, 40, 50%. And then they go and sell, move on to the next thing that some other guy they like is talking about. And then they miss out on the whole opportunity of the upside. You have to be willing to hold. I bought Solana in the last cycle at 60 cents. I bought Terra Luna at 32 cents. I bought Phantom at I think it was 10 cents. I can't remember the exact price. However, all of those did hundreds of X's from that entry. I sold them too early. So it's not like I realized all of that gain, but that's kind of the thing that I'm looking at with the cycle is I held on to some of those for a loss, and it was a decent loss for a good amount of time. However, once the upside potential set in, it really didn't even matter. And that's what I like to tell you guys, when we're looking at these. Let's see here. Flare, that's a good one that we can cover real quick. Let's go and look at Flare is going to be related to, it's going to be related to XRP. And I'm still bullish on XRP. I still think it's going to perform well. Now, at this point, I don't know if it's still so, focused in on the actual XRP. It's not a part of the XRP ledger. That was something that I thought it was. And so it wasn't as much correlated to XRP as I thought it was. However, I hold some from the airdrop from, the last cycle, and I'm just going to keep holding it up to this point. But as of right now, all we've really done is just made our first impulse. We're coming at the end of this correction. Chances are this is going to bottom pretty soon. It might come back down just slightly lower to 16 cents, but I think the bottom is really close to being down in here. We don't have any sort of meaningful divergence, I guess you could say. No bullish divergence as of yet, but don't be surprised if that forms right around the low point of this range. That's kind of what I'd be watching out for with Flare. But I mean, from here, if we go to 16 cents to the range highs, that's like 2x. So this is one that I still think is going to do really well. And the upside potential on a lot of these altcoins that just started their first little impulses is pretty solid. It's got good volume in here. There's still volume all the way back down in here at this correction. So it tells me that it's going to end up reversing. Let's see. DigiByte's another really good one. This was one of my favorite holds in 2017. And it's actually one of my favorite charts of all time because see if we can find a better chart. Crypto right there. So if we look at DigiByte, this is one of my favorite charts to look at and just compare market cycles because it follows the same cycle literally every single time. So let's go to a daily time frame so that we can start this. We're going to go all the way back to 2017, and I'm going to explain exactly what I'm talking about. So this is what you're going to see play out so many different times in the market. Altcoins do this so much, and it's just your conventional market cycle. You have the big run up, you top, and then you start the correction. And this is what is known as your standard A, B, C correction, right? Sometimes wave A will be up here and it'll look more like this. Sometimes wave A and wave B can be, a little bit more similar in size. Sometimes they're smaller. However, it's still the same universal pattern. We saw a big ABC correction. But here's the thing. DigiByte just creates this exact same fractal over and over and over again, where you top, you start this choppy type price action, and then you fall to one more low. And it's at that final low. This is basically a Wyckoff, right? And I've talked a lot about those. It's in that third low that you get the spring-loaded bounce and everything breaks out. We just repeated the exact same pattern going into the last cycle for DigiByte. And we can see that right here. It followed literally the exact same, structure. where we see a bigger ABC. The only difference is, you know, this one bottomed right underneath that wave A, and this one ended up going a lot lower. But this was the top of an entire market cycle, and this was just a short-term correction before our true cycle top in 2018. So it was a little bit different, but you guys see the same pattern. I mean, this is this is basically that. And then what happened? Well, it obviously went into another brand new cycle. So we're really repeating the same things over and over. Now, I'm not going to deny the fact that this looks a little bit weaker than it did over in here, but at the same time, we're still holding support. So most all altcoins at this point have pretty much done nothing, especially the older altcoins from prior cycles. They've kind of just done this type of price action. But the truth is, we've held support. We've never really made a lower low. So as of now, this to me just looks like accumulation. And we're going to end up seeing this thing do the exact same stuff that it's always done in years past. You know, I don't know how much hype is going to come in, but this is the cycle where I do think that a significant amount of it will happen, to where, you know, we're going to be zooming out on the bigger picture and pretty much just looking at something like this into our next cycle, except it'll probably do, you know, something like that would be my guess. We make a big breakout, come all the way to the top of this B wave, and then we kind of correct here, hold support, and then that's where the real upside potential sets in. So that's what I'm watching out with D.I.Y. Incentive token, that's a really solid one. Let's go over here and look at that. This is basically my favorite token in the Pulse Chain ecosystem. So we're going to come over here, pull up Inc. So Inc, I think, has the most upside potential when we're looking at every altcoin built on Pulse Chain. It's got great volume in here. From where we're at right now to those prior all-time highs, it's like 30x. And you can actually farm incentive token and just be earning a significant amount. The higher that this goes, you're going to see those, you know, APYs change, and it's going to be a little bit higher. However, right now is probably when you want to start getting in that farm, because, you know, I think that we're probably close to that reversal point. In the same ways that all of these haven't really, I was thinking that this MACD was going to come down, and it honestly hasn't even came down at all. We have hidden bullish divergence on the MACD, where we have a lower low. We have hidden bullish divergence on the OBV with this lower low, yet we still technically have bullish divergence on this RSI, right? Where it has, you know, technically maintained higher highs as the price action has actually gone lower. So as it stands, you know, this to me looks more bullish than anything. It looks like it's significantly oversold in these periods. And I, you know, firmly believe it's going to end up reversing. If we move it to a log scale, we can count our Elliott waves a little bit better. And this is, you know, it's just the best looking chart on Pulse Chain, in my opinion. We have perfect Elliott wave structure, 5 waves to the upside. And all we've been doing right here is more or less just been completing this ABC correction. I don't know exactly where wave B is, but it's probably, you know, somewhere in here, maybe even right here. However, it doesn't change anything. You know, all this really did in this most recent move was come back down, retest the very bottom of wave 4. That also put us right on that low of when Richard Hart first got sued and we bounced. That's also going to be right over here, this lower high that we made once we were rounding out. And then that was our final low that we had. So really, it's still maintaining a higher high. We're still holding above the main level that we need. However, if this was to go like this and start rejecting, then it could come all the way back down to, you know, probably this support at like 70 to like 80 cents, somewhere right around there. That's what I'd be watching. But big picture, you know, like I stated, from where we're at right now to those prior all-time highs, you're looking at a 36x move. So I firmly believe it's going to do that. We can pull up Fibonacci and we can actually get some price targets, minimum price targets, I should say. So if you pull up our trend-based fib, go from the low, go to the high, all the way back down. Assuming this is the bottom, we don't know yet. We're just going to have to watch and see. But our minimum target in this next move is the 1618. We have to go to at least $17.50 if this is going to be a wave 3, which I think it will be. Oftentimes, wave 3s are going to come all the way up to the 2618. They can even just go all the way past all of these fib targets. So we don't know for sure, and that's why I'm not saying that we should call, you know, tops or anything. For me, I'm holding this into new all-time highs because I really do think it's going to go to that point. So from where we're at right now to the 1618, you're looking at like 7x. To the 2618, 11 or 12x. I think that that thing is going to be doing huge multiples once we start reversing, whenever that's going to be. You know, we don't fully know yet. We're going to have to watch and see. It's really just around when Ethereum bottoms, in my opinion. XLM XRP. All righty, let's jump in here. I'm trying to cover these as fast as possible, but I can't help myself from just talking too much. So I apologize for that. Let's go back over to trading view. Oops. Okay. We'll start with XRP. Go to this one right here. Move our drawing tools. So far, we're bottoming from pretty much where I expected that we were going to once we came all the way back down to this cycle low. You know, we're working on a bullish engulfing, but technically it's not engulfing the red candle yet. This is more bearish engulfing. So we're going to watch and see how that weekly closes. We still have 2 days. If we were to get a buyback in here in the short term, that would look really solid for a reversal. But the big thing that I watch for with XRP, we have a main descending resistance right here. And then we have, you know, it's kind of looking like some type of symmetrical triangle formation, which I actually have to come down here a little bit lower. Right about there. So to me, this is just a long-term accumulation pattern. It looks a lot like Bitcoin in our last cycle when Bitcoin peaked at, I guess it was 20K. We came all the way back down to the 2018 low. And then we went up to 14K in that first little upswing out of our bear market low. And then we corrected back down. Obviously, this is a much lengthier accumulation than what Bitcoin was, but it's the same type of, you know, price action. It's just a long-term accumulation pattern. And once XRP is actually able to get outside of this descending resistance, that's really where I think that a lot of upside is going to set in. XRP doesn't really do anything, mainly trends sideways. And I think that it's going to do a lot once it starts breaking out, because we can go back into the last cycle, or the first cycle, I should say, and we saw a lot of the same price action. And that's what tells me that we're probably going to continue to see that, which I'm going to go to a log scale so it's a little bit easy to see. So XRP did a lot of the same type of accumulating in its first cycle. And that to me is what we're going to most likely expect to see play out again. Some variants of this same pattern where we topped, we basically fully retrace, we make this first lower high, correct all the way back down, and then it just kind of trends sideways. Once we get outside of that descending resistance, the reversal sets in, and then that's where we see the upside. So when I'm looking at XRP today, I just see it in the exact same situation it was in its first cycle. We're going to see this thing break out. Once it flips that descending resistance, a lot of upside potential is going to come in. I don't think it's just going to slowly, you know, start barely uptrending, making slow higher highs and higher lows. XRP and altcoins generally just move really quickly in, you know, impulsive cycles. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards with XRP as well. Now, XLM, it didn't have the lawsuit in the last cycle, so it didn't get, or I guess I should say it performed better. I don't think they have just an index to look at. Yeah, they don't. So let's try and find the best chart here. I think that Bitfinex has the entire price history. Let's see. Kraken does. I know that. Gosh, I absolutely hate looking at TradingView sometimes because I just don't think that. I wish they had better data. Like, it's all just kind of all over the place. Let's look at Bitfinex real quick. Okay, so that's not even the all-time price history. Let me pull up Poloniex because I know for sure that that has the whole price history. Oops. Poloniex. Okay, there we go. What? They don't even have it anymore? My gosh. Okay, hold on. I'm going to find it. That's crazy. I used to always go to the Poloniex chart when I didn't know where the other one was. Okay, let's go with Coinbase. Yes, I don't know why I didn't go with that one first. So when we're looking at stellar lumens, I mean, it's in the exact same situation as XRP. They're going to follow each other. The only difference was XLM outperformed because you ended up seeing a lot of people rotate their XRP into XLM after the lawsuit. And so it actually ended up outperforming XRP. However, I don't think that that's going to be the case long term. I always think that, you know, XRP is better positioned than Stellar, but it's one of those where it's like, you know, it's a little bit more undervalued. So if XRP is going to do its thing, Stellar is probably going to end up giving a bigger ROI, but we don't know for sure. You know, XRP could massively outperform. If we got an ETF in XRP, it probably would outperform XLM. So that's just something to be aware of. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's just pretty much sitting right here at our range lows. Haven't really done a whole lot. This is actually doing more of a bullish engulfing than XRP is. But when I look at this, this just looks like a double bottom formation where we have the low, retesting that low. Once we flip that range at basically 17 cents, we're going to get an entire trend reversal, and it'll look something like this. So that's what I think is going to be playing out with XLM. Overall, they're just going to end up following each other. All right, let's look at Link because this one is one of my biggest holdings as well. Not that XRP isn't, but Chainlink is another one of those that I really, really like going into this cycle. So when I'm looking at Chainlink, to me, when we're looking at like, what is the typical market cycle that you're going to see? What follows, your classic example, textbook example of like the Wall Street cheat sheet or a market cycle, things like that. I'm actually going to go and grab the Wall Street cheat sheet real quick because I love to overlay it onto the Chainlink chart. So if we come over here, we can pull it up and we can kind of see what I'm talking about down here. Make it a little smaller. So when we're looking at Chainlink, I love Chainlink because it follows all of your examples of a market cycle. It seems to just be pretty much completing a textbook example where, we already had our hype cycle that was obviously over in here. We saw the big decline in price that was right here. And then, we just ranged for like 600 days approximately going sideways in this channel. And then we started breaking out. So in my opinion, we've broken out of this and we're inside of this disbelief, which let me make this like black so you guys can see, or not black. Let's make it blue. So this disbelief phase, when you first start that new uptrend, you kind of flip the range lows as new support. That's the disbelief phase. That's exactly where Chainlink is right here. We've already broken out of our range lows. We made our first Elliott wave impulse, 5 waves off of the low. And now all we're doing is completing our ABC. Now, the ABC looks to me like it could be that, or there's the potential that this is more the ABC. I don't really know for sure. We're just going to watch and see. But, Chainlink is ultimately going to bottom whenever Ethereum does and whenever Bitcoin does. In the shorter time frames, we're sitting at the same range that Bitcoin is. If you guys notice, Bitcoin is kind of flirting with breaking down from that, consolidation that we've been at for a long time. Chainlink's at the exact same point where we're just consolidating right below that range. But oftentimes you're going to see that be, the ending of that. This could actually end up being like a capitulation. The worst case scenario is we pull back and more or less just come and retest over here at like $10.40. That's the worst case scenario that I see for Chainlink. And if that was the case, we'd be looking at A, B, and C like that. Technically, we could have already finished wave C right here. Technically, the ABC could have been this. So no, that I actually scratched that. That's not the right one. This is going to be our correction right here, ABC. The question now comes, do we make one more final low or is that the bottom? It doesn't change anything for me because we're still ultimately consolidating on top of that, bear market bottom, our cycle low. We're pretty much just consolidating right on top of that. So what comes next is our Elliott wave count for wave 3. This is wave 1. This is wave 2. Wave 3 comes next. And I think that wave 3 is going to come up to like $38 to $40. And it could even go higher than that. We could see it up to like $45. Wave 3, wave 4. And then we still have another big move coming after that. So in my opinion, wave 3 could very easily just go into a new all-time high. And that's why, I don't like to solely focus on Elliott waves because, they can kind of do their own thing. We can look at minimum targets for where we need to go, but we don't fully know, if that's going to be the exact level because they can actually just go, past all of our fib targets. We have to go to at least the 1618. So you're looking at $39-40. That's our minimum target. Oftentimes wave 3s are going to come up to the 2618 and sometimes they can just go past all of them. The wave 2 or wave 3, I should say, is a little bit more unpredictable. They're just a lot more volatile in structure. So that's the big thing to be aware of. If we're looking at like an ROI, let's see in here. Price range from where we're at right now, you're looking like a 2x to like a 3.5x to those minimum targets. But for me, Chainlink's one of those that's going to get an ETF approval. So I'm personally just holding mine. I'm not really looking to take any profit at these lower levels, but I think that it's probably going to see, if we're talking about what's going to get the ETF, we've obviously got Solana. I think that that's up next. And past Solana, I mean, Chainlink, XRP, outside of that, I don't really know because once you're getting outside of Chainlink and XRP, you're pretty much just sitting at the exact same project repeated, another layer 1 or a layer 2. It's more or less the same type of stuff. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Dogecoin got an ETF over XRP just because of, the SEC involvement with the XRP case. But the truth is, if you're looking at the history of these SEC lawsuits and the recent projects they've gone against, for the most part, I mean, the SEC just gets their ass handed to them every single time. And they haven't really been able to win any of those. They've just been retracting all of their lawsuits. Paxos Paxos Global or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it's called. It was a stable coin in the last cycle worth like $10 billion. They came out and sued them. The whole market crashed. And then they just recently came out the other day and said, oh, we're retracting that after we've already ruined your entire project. That's the SEC for you. Bunch of wankers, I guess you could say, to put it more politely. But, that's just the thing that we're going to have to be aware of with this cycle is as the SEC is kind of reaching back, I think that it's really just releasing the floodgates, and we're about to see a lot more adoption coming in. For example, if XRP can win their lawsuit, which they already have, if Richard Hart can win that lawsuit, which they've already retracted that if you're looking at the official statements, I just don't really see a situation where the SEC is able to stifle any growth. They've pretty much got to that point where Trump's now pro crypto. They've had to take they've had to pivot a little bit. They released the Ethereum ETF. They passed that, even though Gary Gensler came out and said a million different times that Ethereum is a security. They came and retracted that statement the exact week that Trump came out and said that he was pro crypto. So you're going to see both sides kind of cater to the greater majority. They were really against crypto, but now that they've got their main opponent that's actually, kind of taking that stance, vote for me if you want good Bitcoin laws. The Biden administration is here to destroy it. I think that they've had to kind of retract that stance, being so anti-crypto. And now you're kind of seeing, the resolution of all of that. So we're going to see a really big cycle. It's the first time that we've had institutions. And not only that, but I mean, we have the governments. It's going to become a big talking point in this next election. We're coming up pretty damn close to that election. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of these altcoins start to rally. Don't get me wrong. We could see a lot of volatility around that election time. At the end of the year, we might see, it's hard to say what's going to happen, but I think big picture leading into 2025, it's going to be a very, very parabolic year. So that's really what I'm looking forward to. Let's see here. BTCB is looking insanely bullish on base. So base is something that I am extremely bullish about. For you guys that don't know what base is Coinbase's layer 2. They don't have a token. Let's see, BTCB. Let's go look at it. BTCB. Bitcoin on base. Oh, I was just looking at this the other day. Yeah, so what we're going to see, in my opinion, Solana has been the epicenter for meme coins this cycle. As Solana's taken off, if you go and look at all of the top performing altcoins on Solana, what has the volume, there is not one reputable project. They're literally all meme coins. That's all Solana is going to be used for, is speculation for meme coins. And to be completely honest, that's probably going to be the case on a number of these chains. Arbitrum doesn't have as much of a meme community as it does real tangible projects. Same thing with like Optimism. Same thing with, some of these other chains. However, Solana in and of itself is just a meme coin casino. That's quite literally all it's used for. Now, Coinbase, in my opinion, will be that next big meme coin type of layer, because the reason, Base chain itself is going to do so well is because you have the entire centralized exchange of Coinbase, all of their, millions of users. They're going to be able to easily onboard them to their layer 2. And they're the only chain that has that type of network effect. Centralized exchange of Coinbase has been around forever. I use them. I think that they're the best as far as Americans go. And so I've always really liked Coinbase. Now that they have their Coinbase Smart Wallet, which just got released like 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month at this point, that is what's going to be able to easily onboard everybody to their layer 2. So if you're talking about on-chain opportunities, the big thing to be aware of is, as much as people hate meme coins, they're kind of like the only altcoin out there. Not the only one, but they're kind of like the only altcoins out there that you can guarantee aren't securities. And what I mean by that is if you go to, like the Dog with Hat website, all it says is this provides zero value. It's just a dog with a hat. That's it. So if they come out and tell you, hey, there is no value here, it's just a meme coin, buy at your own risk, that in and of itself is a commodity. There is no security asset. They're not promising you any sort of value. So in my opinion, we're going to see centralized exchanges look to add and list a lot of these meme coins, because the meme coins are going to provide a lot of volume. Through the volume, the exchanges make, obviously generate fees. They generate profit. And if they can guarantee that something isn't a security, and they don't have to sit here and say, well, I mean, technically it's not a security, but Gary Gensler could come over here and shake his angry fist and say it is. So with meme coins, you can't do that. I mean, they literally tell you at the website that they provide no value. So I really do think that we're going to continue to see the meme coins do well. And Base Chain in and of itself is going to be my top pick for where we're going to see the majority of that meme coin money consolidate outside of Solana, because we've already seen it. If you're tracking on-chain analysis, at the very top before this recent 4-month correction, we saw Solana was blowing up and all the meme coins were taking off. But the vast majority of that money that was actually bridging out of Solana, it was going to Base. So that it wasn't going to Arbitrum, it wasn't going to Optimism or Metis or any of these other ones. It was going to Base Chain. And I really think that we're going to see a lot of that, speculative money consolidate there. Now I've rambled on enough. Let's actually talk about the coin. This is going to be Bitcoin on Base, 7.3 million market cap. And it's a fully diluted valuation. Another reason why meme coins are so much better opportunities in a lot of ways than some of the other tokens. We have Arbitrum, we have Optimism, we have some of these tokens that have came out, and they have for example, let's just go and look at Arb. Arbitrum has an insanely high supply, and not so much the supply that matters, but hold on, let's go over here. So when we're talking about these things, what I'm trying to basically explain here is the fully diluted valuation and the market cap. You want these to be as close as possible, because the lower the fully diluted valuation, it goes to show that there's not very many tokens to be unlocked. What you're going to see with many of these projects launching, Blast is an example of this that just came out, ZK Sync, some of these that just had their tokens, you're having a lot of these that have founders that are up hundreds of X's in value, right? So they have token unlocks. So what that means is you've got a high float. You've got the fully diluted valuation that could be worth hundreds of billions of dollars or something, yet the market cap might be a small amount. What that shows is that there's a ton of tokens ready to be unlocked, and that means founders dumping, that means influencers dumping, that means whoever the hell bought early dumping. That's the issue with a lot of these tokens. However, meme coins themselves are a lot more valuable because they already have all of the tokens circulating. The only insider is he who bought first, which in my opinion is totally fair game. That's how you want it to be. Not only that, but you kind of want to be looking at tokens that also don't have like a huge amount of the supply being held by one wallet. That's something to be aware of. But at the same time, Brett was the token, the main meme coin on Base, and it's performed really well. And, their founders held like 40% of the supply. So you got to be aware of these little things. Is if the people are going to hold the token, having a huge amount of that supply locked up is a good thing. So you kind of just have to, gamble and see what happens. But as of now, if we're talking about this, all we finished was 5 waves up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're currently finishing out that ABC correction. Is this bottomed? I don't for sure know. It does look like we could be, because we have technically finished a short-term impulse to the upside. It looks like this could actually be the beginning of a correction in here, and we might come back down to like 34 cents. But, overall, this to me is bottomed. I don't think that we're going to be sitting around here for a heck of a lot more. We'll probably come back down for one more low to 35 cents or so. And then that could actually be the bottoming point before we start that next cycle. But to me, this one looks solid. All the tokens are unlocked. Good liquidity. The liquidity's locked as well. Market cap's low. All tokens are circulating. All of that good stuff. The only thing that you could maybe look at here is like if you copy the contract or the token address right here, and you come over, I'm going to share my screen again. Let me find it. Token Sniffer. So if you guys come to Token Sniffer, you can actually search the contract. Let's see if it'll pull up. It doesn't seem like it's going to pull up. But this is one way that you can actually kind of source out scams. And I don't know. I don't think this one's going to work. But if you're ever wondering about a token, you can come to Token Sniffer. You can also come to Soul Sniffer, which will show you all of the Solana altcoins. There might actually be one for Base Chain that I just don't know of. But if you come over and actually search, look up the address in here, it'll show you like a number of things that are good or bad about the token. Let me try and find one just for an example real quick. I don't know if I can get any of these to work, but let's see. I don't know if this one will show up either. Yeah, so it's not showing up. Either way, if you come to Token Sniffer and you search up a token, it'll show you like 10 different things. It'll show you how much of the supply is held by specific wallets. It'll show you if there was like people that got in early. It'll show you if the code is good, all of that type of stuff. So it can just be a way to kind of, I don't know, I guess get through all of the crap, not get scammed, I guess you could say, because that's the big issue. How do you buy meme coins and know that they're good? Well, this is one way to actually look at those. So just be aware of that real quick. Let's come back down here and look at some more. questions that we've got. Dovu on H bar. I have not heard of this. Let's go look at it. Dovu. Let's see if it'll pull up over here. Is this a meme coin or what is it? It doesn't have any description for me to see. Let's go. Let me pull it up real quick over on CoinGecko and see if it pulls up anything. It does not. So I don't know anything about this. All I can actually just go off of is what the chart shows, but I will say the chart looks solid. Very, well, let me look down in here. Yeah, technically this is a higher high. So we saw wave 1, saw wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So we finished our 5 waves to the upside. We're working on our ABC correction. Chances are this is going to be done. We're pretty much sitting on top of that wave 1 support. So I think we'll probably come back down just slightly lower, tag 0.00088. And then from there, we'll probably end up reversing. But this is looking like it could be a really solid buy, assuming we come back down to this white line. You know, you'd be looking at like 5x and something that's got 10 million market cap fully diluted. That's pretty solid in my opinion. And H bar is going to be one of those that does well. It's got the institutional backing already. It's been one of my favorite holds all the way since the last cycle. So that whole ecosystem is really primed. And that's something I want you guys to be aware of. A big takeaway from all of this. If you're wondering, you know, what to buy, I think that the best opportunity this cycle is doing research on which chains you think are going to perform the best, whether it's a layer 1, whether it's a layer 2. And then from there, you go and look at what are the top projects built on those layers. So if, you know, Arbitrum in and of itself isn't that great of a hold, I'm just holding what I got in the airdrop from the beginning. I'm not buying any more of it because they have token unlocks, they have founders that are up. They're just going to dump on you. So there's no point in buying the native chain asset itself. You're better off circulating your money into the main DEX on that, or the main NFT exchange, or, you know, whatever it is. There's a number of narratives this cycle that are going to be blowing up. We have real world assets, RWAs, we have AI, we have DeFi protocols, you know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, token bridges. There's a number of these narratives that I think are going to be primed. And so if, you know, if you're wondering what to buy, if you only have a smaller amount of capital to maybe not focus on the native chain assets themselves, just do research on your chains that you love the most. If you're bullish on HBAR, go look at the best projects built on HBAR. If you're bullish on Pulse Chain, what are the best projects built there? You know, if you're bullish on whatever it is, just look at the main platforms. This is something that I think is going to just be the more obvious thing to watch for, is the DEXs, NFT platforms, RWA assets, AI, things like that. The more obvious narratives we've already seen take off, just go and focus your money on some of those newer projects built on those chains. PTGC and Alien. So this is going to be a Pulse Chain project. Let's go look at PTGC. I haven't looked at it in a while. It was in a pretty decent sell-off last time I looked. Yeah, so it's still pulling back here. Now, I was watching, and I actually, you know, called this entire move perfectly when we were consolidating over here. I said how we probably had one more final impulse to go before a big correction. And the reason why I said that was because if you notice, we have declining volume. So peak volume happened here. We made another new all-time high on declining volume. And then we made another new all-time high on further declining volume from that move. So I knew that a correction was due. We're currently just sitting in the middle of that. All this is ABC correction. We could come back down just slightly lower. But the thing is, guys, all of these are just going to follow Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if Bitcoin and Ethereum are bottomed now, these ones are all bottomed now. If, you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum come back down a little bit lower, these are also going to come back down a little bit lower. But I do think the vast majority of our correction is over. We can actually pull up. Why isn't it not pulling up? Guess I don't have them on this chart. We can go pull up our RSI. We can go pull up our MACD. We can go pull up our OBV, and then we can kind of get a deeper perspective. So this one also has hidden bullish divergence. You're going to see that across the board on a number of these Pulse Chain assets. Lower lows, lower highs on the OBV, yet we're actually maintaining higher highs in price. We're also going to notice over here that we've technically had bullish divergence on this MACD for a long time. since all the way back over in here. So momentum has been swinging towards the bulls. However, we didn't really get true bullish divergence on the RSI until just recently right here. So as it stands, I do think that we are close to a reversal point here, which is why, you know, if you're looking at PTGC, it's got a really low market cap. It's actually a pretty solid buy right now. I think that this one is going to continue to do well. Considering it's a reflection token, the devs are pretty smart when it comes to understanding liquidity, understanding how to manipulate it to where the token price goes up consistently. They're really smart about that stuff. And that's kind of why I do like this project. But one I really like, if you're looking for a more undervalued one to buy, I would go with UFO because UFO in and of itself, move these drawing tools real quick. Because UFO is going to be another example of PTGC. It's very similar with their tokenomics, but this one's, you know, more undervalued and it hasn't had a cycle yet. It's actually got better liquidity as well. So in my opinion, if you're looking to buy one, I'd go for UFO, although PTGC is really solid as well. I just think that if you're trying to pick one or the other, I would personally consolidate my bet in UFO. And that's just my opinion. All of the PTGC ecosystem. Yeah, I could only cover those two, but either way. Let's see down in here. Thank you so much for that great tip donation. Maxi, can you take a look at the ticker incentive and pulse chain? I just did. You can actually go back, but since you tipped me, I will just do it real quickly. Where are we at here? I just covered incentive token at the beginning of this stream, but I'll quickly brush up again. So when we're looking at this, we finished 5 waves to the upside. We have massive hidden bullish divergence as well as bullish divergence on the OBV, MACD, and RSI daily. Our minimum targets are going to be a 7x, and then this is like a 14 or 12x, something like that from where we're at today. Yeah, so like 11.5x to there. I do think we're going to $27 next. Chances are we could even go into a new all-time high on the next move, considering if Bitcoin and ETH are about to be going into a new all-time high for the first time, all these altcoins that have been accumulating are about to just absolutely send it. So to me, Inc. is my favorite token in the Pulse Chain ecosystem. You can't really go wrong holding it. I think that if you're only picking one token on Pulse Chain, pick incentive token. As new liquidity, enters this chain, I think it's going to just automatically go up. So just be aware of that. But shout out to Maxi for that tip. No, not that Pulse Chain. It's the fake one. What does that mean? A fake incentive? Is it a different token on Pulse Chain that you're talking about, Maxi? If so, drop a contract address and I'll search it real quick because I don't know what you're talking about. Chuck Norris, Luigi, CIA. Yeah, I'll get the contract address. Yeah, drop that and I'll look at it here. Can you do an update on Tethys Finance? Yes, I can do that. I will go and pull that up. So Metis is another one of my favorite ecosystems. Still holding all of these tokens. I'm still holding my Tethys that I bought last year. Let's go over here. So everything's pretty much sitting at cycle lows, but that's why it's such a great buy opportunity. The entire Metis ecosystem as a whole is really solid. You really can't go wrong getting exposure to this. Like for me, if you're looking at the best layer 2 for upside potential, base I think is really great because of that, having the whole user base of Coinbase's centralized exchange that they can easily onboard. Outside of that, obviously I'm bullish on Arbitrum, Solana, Ethereum, those things. BSC will have its big run. But for me, my favorite one based off of upside potential is going to be Metis DAO. And the reason why is the lead developer of Metis is Vitalik Buterin's mom. So the creator of Ethereum, his mom went over and actually built Metis DAO. So Metis DAO is the only layer 2 with a fully decentralized sequencer. And a sequencer is the way that they, it's just tech words for the way that their chain works and groups transactions and things like that. I don't need to get into detail because truly I don't even fully understand it myself. But it is the only decentralized sequencer that exists inside of the layer 2 market. Having the backing of Vitalik, with his mom being the lead dev, they already got $100 million in the last cycle for funding from Vitalik and the ETH Foundation for this project. So Tethys in and of itself is going to be like the perp DEX over here on Metis DAO. And I really think that this is a, absolutely exceptional buy right here. We've pretty much fully retraced our most recent pump, but this was 5 waves up. Technically, this was 1, 3, and extended wave 5. And then we fully retrace that move. Oftentimes, if you're going to see these 2 little impulses, wave 1, wave 3, and then this way overextended wave 5, oftentimes that first correction is going to fully retrace that move. And that's exactly what happened. But ultimately, this is just going to follow the price of Metis now, and it looks just like the price of Metis, except, like leveraged Metis. If we were to go to the prior all-time highs, you're looking at an 86x from where we're at right now, just to the prior all-time highs of that last cycle. That's why I love the Metis ecosystem, is because they're sitting at rock bottom, discounts. And in my opinion, they're going to absolutely fly, because if we're looking at Metis, all of these just follow the price of Metis, right? So if we, oops, wrong chart. Let's pull up the other one. They're all just following the price of Metis here. So Metis, it was just consolidating in the spare market bottom. And then when it made this pump, that was the last pump that I was just sharing with you guys with Tethys. They all followed each other. The only difference is Metis is obviously holding a little bit better support than those other two. But even it almost fully retraced its move. So we just have to be aware that all of them are going to follow Metis. Once Metis bottoms, the rest of the ecosystem is going to bottom. So you've got Tethys, you've got Net Swap is another one. This one made me the most money when things broke out, but I'm pretty sure I'm back to break even, if not a slight loss at this point. But notice how all of them pretty much look like the price of Metis. The only difference is they're just kind of like 3x leverage. They pump harder when Metis breaks up, and then when Metis sells off, they actually break down lower than Metis. So I think that the entire network of Metis is going to do really, really well. What my favorite one is going to be Hercules. This is a new one that just came out. Let's go to Torch. The ticker is called Torch. I haven't talked about these guys because they hit me up and they were talking about sponsoring my channel and actually paying me money. So I was like, well, I'm not going to talk about it on YouTube for free unless you guys pay me, but I'll do it for this live stream. This is one project that even though they're probably going to end up sponsoring my channel at some point, I'm personally invested into this. I'm personally bullish on this, aside from just being a sponsored thing. This really is a project that I think is going to do very, very well. Currently sitting 1.2 million liquidity, 6.6 million. So this is going to be an example of one of these tokens where the fully diluted valuation is higher than the market cap. The market cap's only 2.3 mil, but the fully diluted valuation is 6.6 mil. This project reached out to me before they even launched, and then they were looking for KOLs, basically influencers, to promote them for a pre-sale price. I didn't do it for Torch because I knew that the price of it was going to fall lower than where I was going to get it for promoting. And then my tokens were going to be locked and I'd get them vested over the course of like a year or 2 years. I didn't want to do that. So I never accepted it. I didn't promote them. But then they reached back out to me after they launched and then kind of said that they'd still want me to cover them. I still haven't covered them up to this point, but this is still going to be one of my favorite projects. The issue with this is because they had KOLs and they had influencers and they had all of the people that were initial angel and seed investors of this project, there's going to be unlocks. So that's the only downside with holding this project. But as it stands, this is going to follow Metis. And so once Metis bottoms, this is going to bottom, but it's going to outperform the price of Metis. This is going to be the best DEX for Metis. It's going to have the thickest liquidity. In my opinion, you're going to see a lot of the DeFi money consolidate to the Torch or the Hercules ecosystem is what I should say, because it's its own DEX. For you guys that don't know, on Arbitrum, what was it called here? Camelot, Grail. This is one of my holdings over on the Arbitrum ecosystem, and Torch is literally just a hard fork of this project. And they reached out to the team of Grail to make sure that everything was good when they were forking it. And so they've kind of worked side by side to make sure Torch worked out. And as it stands, this is the project over on Arbitrum. This is one that I hold. It's one that I think will perform really, really well once the on-chain alt season starts. But if you're looking for the top DEX on Metis, go for Hercules or Torch. That's what I think is going to end up outperforming. Let's come down in here. Okay, so he's got my contract address. Let me see if I can. I can't copy it. Let me go to YouTube. Hold on. Where is it? I don't see a way to copy it. I can't copy that contract address for some reason. I'm trying to figure out a way to be able to do it, but it's not updating on YouTube quite yet. So hold on. I can't copy the contract address somehow. You can try to. I don't know how for you to send it to me. I guess you could drop it in my Discord. You could tweet it at me or message me on Twitter, I guess, and I could pull it up that way. But I can't copy your contract address in the comments for some reason, so I don't know how to look at it. What do you think about the PulseX incentive pool? Are you talking about farming the PulseX and ink pool? Personally, I would avoid farming spot ink. Do not farm your spot ink. You should take your PulseX, you should take your Pulse chain, you should take your Hex, you should take your stable coins and pair those together and then farm for ink. You don't want to use your incentive because, for example, if you take PulseX and you pair it with incentive token, an incentive token does a 35x to the prior all-time highs. Pulse chain itself or PulseX might do a 10x in that same time or a 5x in that same time. But the issue is the impertinent loss that you're going to experience is going to be massive to where you're actually just going to end up selling your incentive token. You're going to be selling it for PulseX. And that to me is just kind of silly because what you should be doing is taking your PulseX and your Pulse or PulseX and Pulse in a stable coin that would pay you a better return and then use that to actually farm incentive token itself because the goal is to be constantly accumulating more incentive token. If you're farming your spot incentive token for more ink, you're going to lose your ink due to the impertinent loss of it actually outperforming. So you're effectively selling whatever token outperforms the most. So the reason I say that you're better off pairing Pulse with PulseX is because the prices are almost the same. The impertinent loss you're going to experience is almost nothing. And so you're still much better off just consolidating your bets over on those two tokens rather than trying to farm ink itself as spot. Because if you're farming your own spot ink, you're just going to actually be selling it when it outperforms everything. So just be aware of that. How do I get in your Discord here? Let me drop an invite real quick. This will be the free one. Okay. So I just posted an invite link in the comments so you guys can actually go ahead and jump in there. H-Bar Sweet. Shout out to Steven. He's my homie. He's been a part of my group, my private group for a while. So it's always good to see friendly faces, familiar faces in here. H-Bar Sweet. Let me go look it up. H-Bar Sweet. 1 year, 11 months. So, goes it back even further. So this one's just going to be exactly the same as that other one we covered that you asked me about. I don't remember what it was called, Dovu or something like that. It's pretty much just the same thing. We saw 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3. Well, no, we didn't. So this was a wave 1 and a wave 2. This is a wave 1 and a wave 2 of 3. So we're actually inside of a subwave, wave 3. What we'd be looking at here is wave 3, wave 4, and then wave 5. So let me actually get our Elliott waves here so you can see. These are subwaves, so they're going to be small numbers. But you're basically looking at something like this. Wave 3, and then another wave 5, wave 1, wave 3, wave 4, and then we'd still have a whole nother wave 5 to come after that. So if we're looking at this thing, I think that this thing has a lot of upside potential because it's just making our first little subwaves. And with all of that volume that came in here on our subwave, wave 1 and wave 2, I should say our subwave of wave 3, I do think that this thing is going to be, performing pretty well once H bar actually bottoms. From where we're at right now to the range highs, like 369%. So honestly, this thing has easy 10x potential. Market cap and fully diluted valuation is the same. The only issue with this one is there's only 37K liquidity. So that's really, really low to be able to buy this. It's going to, you're going to have to eat a lot of slippage. However, there's probably better pools that I'm not looking at. Yeah, so no matter what you're looking at here, there's almost no liquidity and there's no 24-hour volume, very, very low. So with this one, you're going to have to be aware of that. However, the less liquidity, the easier it is for price to go both up and down. So if you're going to see this thing take off in a big way, the price can actually appreciate really quickly just because of the fact that there's less liquidity in the market. Let's see. How about ADA? I have a big bag. I'm still holding my ADA from the last cycle that I bought at like 5 cents. Let's go back to that. I'm going to go to a different presentation. We're going to come over here. Go back here. ADA. This is one that I think it's actually bottoming pretty much right where I thought it would too. So that looks really solid right now. I don't even need to remove this analysis from wherever I drew this last time because it's pretty much just following what I thought it did. We did a Wyckoff accumulation in the bottom, which is very much on par with all of our prior cycles that you're going to see right there, basically, where we saw, I'm going to even make this even less transparent so it's easier to look at. So when we're looking at this, we saw low, rejection, lower low, rejection. And then this was our third lower low, the spring loaded bounce before we saw the breakout. So it's just following your textbook example of a Wyckoff. And if you notice right here, once you have that third spring loaded bounce that took place there, you have that first impulse. We're just kind of, in that bottom correction before we start the real markup period in this chart. So I like this setup. It's one of my favorite layer ones. Not so much that I actually believe in Cardano, but just more so for the narrative in and of itself. I haven't bought any more from what I bought in the last cycle. I bought this right there at 3.5. No, it wasn't. It was 5 cents. I'm lying to you guys. I bought it at 5 cents. It did technically go lower. But this one was one of my better investments in that last cycle, and I'm still just holding what I have. I didn't end up selling it. I ended up taking a leverage position over here when we first started breaking out. So that was the only profit that I ended up actually taking on this. But I'm still just going to keep holding my Cardano. I think that the ecosystem could do well. But the problem with Cardano is the TVL is just so low for the market cap. I don't like Cardano as a hold right now because it's, I think that there's better layer ones personally. And I think that there's better layer twos out there. It's, I like Charles Hoskinson. I like his ideas on the blockchain. I think he's a good guy, but the TVL is just non-existent in a crypto that's got, tons and tons of tens of $billion in market cap. So it's not my favorite for that reason, but, I still think it's going to do well. I still think it can go into a new all-time high, and maybe ADA ends up getting an ETF approval. The problem with these ETF approvals is we've got like 20 different layer ones and all these layer twos. What separates AVAX from ADA and ADA from, all of these other layer ones that are out there? What is going to be that big, like, deciding factor of what gets the ETF over the others? I don't know. Personally, I really don't, but we're just going to have to watch and see what ends up happening. You guys have any more? You guys got any more great questions? Oh, did you drop that comment? I keep getting... Hold on a second. I got somebody posting naughty things in my Discord. I got to block them real quick. Alrighty. Sorry about that. I don't think you ended up dropping. Shout out to you, sir. Thank you for that donation. I need that 2025 AVAX price prediction in my life. Alrighty. Deal. Let's go take a look at it. I love AVAX for this cycle personally. I think it's going to really surprise people. In fact, AVAX has kind of became the epicenter of crypto gaming. And I think that it's going to really catch people by surprise. When I look at AVAX, to me, it looks like the price of ADA, but it's just obviously outperforming it. It's outperformed DOT. It's outperformed ADA. It's outperformed like all of these different layer ones that are out there. So I really think that this one is going to be one of the better ones to follow. The last cycle, all we did was 5 waves to the upside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we finished our ABC correction into the bear market. This is another example of a Wyckoff, which if I actually grab the, I don't have it up here, so I can't. But regardless, this is a Wyckoff where you have a low, high, lower, lower high. And then the third lower low is the spring-loaded bounce before the breakout. We followed your textbook example of a Wyckoff. We saw 5 waves to the upside. Technically, this would probably be the 5 waves up. And then we ended up experiencing an expanded flat ABC correction where that wave B actually breaks above the top of our impulse. And then wave C breaks back below wave A. So as it stands, for me, AVAX is just sitting right on top of this support. Could go down a little bit lower, but like I said, it's really revolving around Bitcoin and ETH. However, outside of that, the reversal is very close to getting in here, and then we're going to start that next breakout. Could go a little bit lower before that happens, but regardless, I'm anticipating that this next impulse is going to be coming in because all we're looking at here is the beginning of a subwave, wave 3. So our minimum target in the next move is going to be the 1618. Chances are it could come all the way to the 2618 and even higher than that because it is a wave 3. So from where we're at right now to the 1618, you're looking at 3.5x, the 2618, like 5x. However, if we're talking long term, we have this entire prior cycle to pull from. So our minimum targets based off our prior cycle are the 1618 and the 2618. Now, I firmly believe that we're going to end up going way past all of those targets. So that's like a 9x and that's like a 14x, 15x. I do think that we're going to end up going higher than those. I think that this thing will end up making an impulse that dwarfs its last cycle. And it could go, even past the 4618, all of these fib targets. So that would be like, the 4618, $700 per coin. I really wouldn't be surprised to see AVAX hit that $1,000 mark. Assuming that AVAX, we get a big cycle, massive euphoria across the board. I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see AVAX sitting at like $500 to $1,000, in my opinion. I'm really not going to be the least bit surprised to see that. This is the one cycle where people are going to be surprised just because of the fact, the last cycle was abysmal. Most people weren't there for 2016. I got into crypto at the beginning of 2016. So I got to see the entirety of that 2017 cycle play out. It was during that time where I was also paying for courses, trying to learn trading every day. So I was actually paying attention to everything that was playing out, although I didn't know what the heck I was doing still. It was just one of those issues where I didn't really know what to expect going into our last cycle. I kind of expected it to be a little bit more like 2017 was. And obviously that wasn't the case. Our last cycle, we had a global pandemic. We had 50% of the US dollar getting printed in that 1 year alone. So inflation has been insane. However, when we're looking at this cycle, all of the data based off our economy is up. Yeah, I know inflation is high. Yeah, I know people are struggling. But realistically, when we're looking at our long-term indicators, everything is pretty bullish. And it shows that the economy actually is strong. And when we look at some of our prior, I posted in the comments of your YouTube vid. All right, I'll go back and look at it. But when we're looking at these prior cycles, I don't think the last cycle is one that we can really look at and say for sure, it's going to be just like it was in the last cycle. I think that this cycle will be like 2017. Obviously, the ROI will be smaller because we have, more liquidity. We have way more money involved than ever before. It's just basic math that the more money, the more it's going to take to get the same ROI. So, the total market cap in 2017 for altcoins was like 50 to 100 million. So we have altcoins that have way more than that today. Like not most, but a lot of altcoins are sitting at tens of billions in market cap. So those altcoins aren't going to see 1,000x, right? However, there will be a lot of altcoins that do see 1,000x, but you're going to have to get into them at the very ground floor to see that type of ROI. When we're talking about some of these higher cap cryptos, if AVAX goes up to $500 to $1,000, Imagine what some of the top dexes or top gaming projects on AVAX are going to do. Same thing with whatever chain. I mean, it's universal. That's the reason why I think that this cycle will be like 2017, was because in 2017 we had Ethereum. Ethereum came on, we had the ICO craze, we had the ability to raise money, to issue smart contracts, build our own decentralized applications and whatnot. And because of that, it exploded the value of crypto. We saw so much development, so much new infrastructure being built, even though it was speculative and there wasn't a lot going on in 2017 besides hype. That was something that created the hype. It was because of Ethereum that we got that. Well, this cycle, we've got literally 50 to 100 different Ethereums. We've got AVAX, we've got ADA, we've got layer twos now outside of the layer ones, so that we've even added more, layers to this whole market. That, in my opinion, we're going to see Ethereum's ICO craze of 2017 take place on literally every single one of these chains this cycle. The reason why it's going to be like 2017 isn't so much that I think that you're going to get life-changing 1,000x returns off of holding ADA or like AVAX or, whatever these layer ones are, Ethereum. I don't think that that's where the ROI to be made is like 2017. The ROI will be made off of investing into which of the top projects built on each chain are going to outperform. That's where you're going to get the 2017 type gains. So don't only consolidate your bets, focus solely over here on, the layer one native asset token itself, like the Ethereums or the Polkadots or the AVAXs, even though I think they'll do well. The best thing is to look at what the top project built on each of those chains are and go and buy those. We have a few narratives. I'm just going to explain what you guys should do real quick. So I'm going to take some notes real quick. So the best thing that you can do if you're looking to make money in crypto this cycle, rule number one, do research on which chains are the best. Figure out which layer ones you like the most, which ones you think are going to get the most adoption, the most upside potential, and then focus on those. So once you've figured out which are your favorite chains that you think are going to have the most upside potential, from that point, then you need to identify the key narratives of this cycle. What are some key narratives? One of the ways that I like to do this, we're going to go over to CoinGecko real quickly, because this is just one of the easy ways that you can do this. If you come up to CoinGecko and go to cryptocurrencies and you come down to categories, this will share with you guys a number of these top narratives that you can follow. So this is going to show you all of the layer ones, proof of work tokens, smart contract platforms, even some of these institutional investment portfolios. But the big thing you need to pay attention for is if we come down here, memes, obviously a narrative to be watching for. Liquid staking tokens are going to be absolutely massive. So all of these liquid staking tokens, at one time you had to have 32 Ethereum to be able to actually participate and run a node on the ETH blockchain. Through these liquid staking tokens, they've actually allowed you to, the barrier to entry is a lot lower. Instead of a 32 Ethereum, you might be able to participate with just a few. That's why I think that a lot of these liquid staking tokens are going to do well. The best one in this niche is LDO. LDO, I think, is going to do really phenomenal, even though the market cap is still relatively high right now. Liquid staking tokens are going to be one of those key narratives. If we come down a little bit lower, we can come to NFTs and AI. I think that those are both really solid narratives to watch for. NFTs are absolutely in the gutter right now. I think that they will make a rebound. I don't know which ones for sure, but that's just a narrative to watch. AI, probably the most obvious narrative to watch this cycle. The creator of ChatGPT, Sam Altman, he came out and said that he's seeking $7 trillion to start his new microchip processor type company, basically what NVIDIA does. The issue that we have right now is there's such an overabundance for these processors and microchips and whatnot, yet we don't have enough companies actually producing them. And through AI, we're going to have an explosion taking place around these technologies. And so I think that AI itself, having the hype in the real world, the normal world, not just counting crypto, I think that crypto is a very obvious bet for the AI ecosystem. DPIN is another great example of one of these. A narrative to watch. Layer 2s are another example of these to watch. ZK rollups are a solid one to be paying attention for. Launchpads, GameFi. These are all different types of, narratives that are going to blow up. And so you just have to do your own research and figure out which narratives you think are going to be the most obvious. For me, it's like real world assets. Those are really, really obvious ones, because right down in here, you have RWAs. When we're getting massive adoption from an institutional level, we're going to tokenize all of our assets from our normal world. If you have a car, if you have a house, whatever the hell it is, it could be a video game, it could be anything of the normal real world, food, like your medical records, literally anything, titles, whatever it is, anything from the real world is going to ultimately be added to the blockchain, and it's going to be tokenized. So I think that that's probably the most obvious institutional narrative to watch for, because the institutions are going to be looking to bridge that gap between the normal world and the crypto world. And they're going to be the ones probably tokenizing the majority of those real world assets. So I think that a lot of those tokens that are doing that are going to do really, really well. That's a narrative to watch out for. But, there's a number of narratives. Even something as dumb as frog themed meme coins will do good. It's just picking which ones you think are the best and then focusing on those. Let's see. Post in the comments the last YouTube video. Let me go and look. I'm curious to see what this that you're talking about here. Let's see if I can find it. I do not see your comment. Let me go and look at my recent comments on YouTube. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so here's the incentive token contract address that you were talking about. Let me go and pull that up. Where am I currently sharing my screen? CoinGecko. Let's go over here. Okay. Chuck Norris, Luigi, CIA killed JFK 007 Mog. What in the hell is this? So I don't know what this is, but I'm assuming it has something to do with Tangang, considering it's on 9mm. And to be quite honest, I absolutely despise Tangang. They're so obnoxious, just a bunch of circle jerks, in my opinion. So I don't know about this. There's literally no liquidity or anything, so I can't really have an opinion on that. My only opinion is what I think about Tangang, and I don't like Tangang, so sorry to disappoint you on that one. But I can look at this other one too and see. The issue is if they don't have any liquidity, there's nothing you can really say about them, because one whale could jump in and the price just balloons out of nowhere. So it's really hard to say what the heck is going to happen. But all of these have no liquidity, so it's it's kind of hard to say exactly what. This one to me looks the best out of the one I just shared with you before. We at least have clear Elliott wave structure, 5 waves to the upside, ABC correction back down. It does look like it's at the bottom of its correction, and it kind of looks like it's going to be bottomed here and ready to a reverse. Peter Parker Bush did 9/11 Kirby. What in the hell are these? These are so funny. But if we go to the prior all-time high, it's like a 4.5x. So it could do well. A lot of the Tangang stuff does do well, realistically, as much as I don't like them and as obnoxious as they are. They still have been able to provide a lot of value, and they definitely understand how liquidity works. What are some of your favorite 100x plays right now? Good question. All right. I'm going to share with you guys a meme coin that I think is about to blow up. And this is Joe Bowden on Solana. I like this setup that we're looking at here. Everybody needs to go buy it and pump my bags. Just kidding. I think I'm actually down from where I bought this. But I think Solana meme coins are obviously going to continue to do well. To me, right now is an exceptional time to get into some of these Solana meme coins. And not just Solana, but virtually all the meme coins. Because during this 4-month correction for Bitcoin, we've seen a lot of them, pretty much just get murdered. The whole altcoin market has got murdered. But that's why it's such a good buy opportunity. We're about to get the first breakout into price discovery for Bitcoin. When that happens, it's always right before so much speculative money comes into the altcoin market, and people that were already here in crypto are going to end up pumping the ever-living crap out of these. The reason I like Geo Bowden is because you have, obviously anything Trump or Joe Biden related, I think is going to do well with all the elections coming up. However, when we're talking about Bitcoin going into a new all-time high, we're talking about the ETF for Ethereum going live and trading probably sometime in the next week or two. And then you're talking about the Solana ETF also getting approved. I think it's very much a guaranteed bet at this point. all of these meme coins built on Solana are going to outperform the majority of everything. And so Geo Bowden has gotten absolutely demolished on this sell-off, and the ROI potential on this is pretty insane. From where we're at right now, just to our next resistance is a 10x, and to the prior all-time high is a 26x. So out of a meme coin, I think that's really solid. It's only got, and it's fully diluted, might I add. The market cap's 27 million, but it's fully diluted. All the tokens are circulating. You don't have to worry about the unlocks. You don't have to worry about all this crap. And if we actually take Bowden, I can actually share with you guys how Soul Sniffer works real quick. Let's go with that one. Hold on. Let me find it. So this website is what I was talking about here. This is going to be called Soul Sniffer, and there's going to be other chains that also have these. Let me see if I can get it to pull up here. It's being slow for some reason. But basically, it's going to ask you for a token address. You paste the contract address inside of it. And what in the world's going on here? Let's see if I can pull it up on it. Oh, okay, here it goes. But this is going to be a way for you guys to... All right, hold on. Let me switch it to a different one. That one's not loading for some reason. There we go. So if you come up and search any Solana altcoin, you can actually look them up, and it'll give you guys like a deep analysis on all of these tokens. So if you're looking to gamble and speculate on any of these meme coins, you definitely got to do a little bit of research. And I'm still learning how, because I've never really been a big person into meme coins. But this is just an obvious cycle where they're going to keep taking off. And I'm not somebody that cares so much about only investing into the best fundamentals, because for me, narratives drive price. So if meme coins are going to continue to be the key narrative this cycle, which I don't think they're going to be the only one, it's just that what we've seen up to this point is mainly consolidated around memes. But you got to do a little bit of extra research, because it's so hard to know. You look at the chart. I mean, I've been in crypto for 8 years, going on 9 years now, looking at charts every day. So I at least have an advantage where I can view a chart and get an idea of what's going on. But a lot of you guys don't even have that. So you're kind of just guessing what the heck could do good. And when it comes to meme coins, that's one of those tricky things. This is at least a website you can use. And the higher the score, the better it is. The liquidity is burned and locked. The top 10 token holders don't own a significant amount. There's a good amount of liquidity pools. It's not just one liquidity pool provider. And you have all of these. It's 100 out of 100. So in my opinion, you can't really go wrong with that. Oh, I didn't even look at the right one. I was not showing the right screen. This is what I meant to be sharing with you guys. But anyways, this website is a really solid one for looking at which projects have, the best fundamentals based off of the meme coins. Because I do firmly believe we're going to kind of continue to see. Oh, it's not even sharing my screen. Hold on a second. This is what I meant to share with you guys. So if you search the token up here, this is Geo Bowden, for example. It'll give you guys a score. It'll tell you guys all the good things about it. You can look at the holder analysis and see who owns a lot of the supply. Kraken, the exchange, owns 3% of the supply. And you've got like the Radium AMM, which is obviously just the liquidity pool. But regardless, those are really good things that you'd want to look for. But then all of these, it's got a lot of liquidity providers. All the liquidity pools are known. There's not like a huge amount consolidated in one specific, person. All of those are what you want to be looking for with meme coins. So this is just an example that you can use, or a website you can use to kind of go through and, look at some of these a little bit, get a deeper understanding. But if we come back to the Geo Bowden chart, I really like this setup, because all we finished up to this point, finished wave 1, finished wave 3, wave 4, and then we saw our final wave 5. In my opinion, we're finishing out the ABC correction. And what we saw right down in here, let me remove this real quick. Notice how we were rejecting lower lows, lower highs, below this descending resistance, until the price broke out right there. And then we saw this massive sell candle that came in right there. Look at all that volume that came in. More sell volume here than basically since the cycle top. Yet the price is actually consolidating outside of that descending resistance as new support. This is a support and resistance flip, although it did make a lower low. Sometimes that happens. You're going to see a downtrend. It'll break from that downtrend, make kind of a final lower low before that ends up being the very cycle low of the entire move. But if we're looking at this only completing 5 waves up and an ABC back down, that technically means that this entire thing is only a wave 1 impulse. So from where we are, or from the beginning, to the top to where we're at now, our minimum target is going to be this 1618. So from where we're at right now to the 1618, you're looking at a 43x. And then from the 2618, you're looking at like a 70x. So this is one of those that can very easily 50 to 100x over this cycle. And, you know, I just think that it's a key narrative to be watching for. Not only is it a meme coin, but we've got all of the, you know, presidency coming up. It's just going to be a very easily memeable thing. Really easy to drive hype in some of these altcoins. Let's see. I don't know much about the clicks in Pulse Chain. Could you go over them briefly? What are good ones? The clicks. I don't know what you're talking about exactly. You're going to have to elaborate. I don't know what that is either, my friend. How much lower I think ABT can go? What is ABT? I don't know. Let me go look at it. I'm not sure what it is. Arc block? I don't know what has the full price history. Oftentimes the smaller exchanges do though, like Gate. So, all right, I got to come out to a bigger time frame. Oh, wow. This thing's absolutely sent it. Honestly, it's looking like a pretty good buy right now. You know, we have our range highs right here, and we're pretty much just coming right down into support of those. I find it likely we would end up reversing around here. It is possible that we come back down to like $1.30 to like $1.62, just consolidating somewhere around these prior range highs. The thing about these altcoins and, you know, market cycles for crypto as a whole, this is kind of what I talk about that happens. You know, the market can just do nothing for a long time. We were looking at that chart of Stargate Finance at the beginning of this, and it looks just like this. And I was telling you guys how one day out of the blue, when the hype sets in, you're just going to see everything break out, and it's just going to surprise you how high it goes. This is an example of that. You know, we don't know which ones of these are going to do that, but the vast majority of them are going to end up performing well, assuming they have good fundamentals and good tokenomics. But this is kind of an example of what those do. Now, here's I can add a further layer over this. If you're holding altcoins from back down in here and they start breaking out and just going vertical, the best thing that you can do this early into the cycle is just hold. Don't try to take heavy profits, because I can give you guys examples of let's go to Terra Luna Classic, because this was just one that I made a lot of money on in the last cycle. I don't know if they have the full price history anymore. Yes, they do. So I bought Terra Luna at the very beginning of that cycle. So I bought it literally at the, God damn it. Hold on. So I bought this at the very, very beginning of that cycle. I bought it at 32 cents. So right there. So I bought this at 32 cents in the last cycle. And when it did this in its first move, I sold the majority at a 20x right here. And then I sold the rest at a 40x. I kept $10,000 in it from right here that I just left as a moon bag. That $10,000 turned into $100,000 up here. So this is why I say that the best thing that you can do this early into the cycle, if you end up picking, if you're lucky enough to pick one of those winners that takes off in a big way, don't sell too early. Because, you know, I realized hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit during that first move. Had I have held that, I mean, obviously this went to zero, so it's maybe not the best one to speculate. I technically won on this trade, whereas most people lost. So, you know, I'm thankful for that regardless. But regardless, had I have just held to the 4-year cycle, knew that we were going to take profits at the end of the year, around that time, I would have made way more money. You know, instead of hundreds of thousands, I would have had tens of millions over here. So we don't know what the best performing altcoins are, but if you hold one that really starts front running, the best thing that you can do is just look to hold it the entire cycle, because there's a reason it's front running. Take profits based off the 4-year cycle. That's the only thing you can really do. How does Doge look? Doge looks solid. I love the price chart of Doge personally. If we come over here and look at the long-term basis, I do very much believe that we're close to a reversal. So we didn't end up holding the breakout like I thought we were going to, but it still doesn't really change anything. You know, if we come out to a monthly time frame, let's see what that looks like. So the breakout level that I was talking about was basically this one at 12 cents. We were unable to hold that, and we did sell back down below that. I don't think that it changes anything necessarily. It's just that the crypto market's got a bigger correction. But what we can actually see based off Doge, we saw our first Elliott wave impulse. We saw 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're currently at the very bottom of this wave C, A, B, and C. I do believe that this is bottomed. I don't find it likely that we're going to go any lower, although obviously it's possible. But I do think that the wave C is completed on Dogecoin. And we're looking for that next impulse coming up to about 34, 35 cents. And it could, go even higher than that. We don't know for sure, but that's like a 2x. So when I look at the Dogecoin chart, what it reminds me of is like 2015 Bitcoin. Let's remove these drawing tools and come all the way back down to 2015. It looks a lot like that 2015 cycle for me anyways, when I'm looking at Dogecoin. It's just a longer version of that same pattern, right? So what I mean by that, you have the big blow off top. This is this. This is this. A, B, C, A, B, C. And then you have this double bottom. This is technically a Wyckoff accumulation as well. Pretty much the same thing that we see here. The only difference is obviously Bitcoin just kind of did this type of price action and Dogecoin is not doing that as much, but it's still the same setup. I mean, we saw an ABC. In my opinion, Dogecoin will just pump a lot quicker than what Bitcoin did, but this pattern is taking place on a longer time frame. If we're looking at, Bitcoin back over in here, from the cycle top to the ending of our bear market was 680 days. If we're looking at Dogecoin from the top to the ending of our bear market, it was like twice that, not twice that, but 900 days. So about a year longer. I don't think it really changes anything. We're looking at the same setup. It's just that Dogecoin, because it spent so much time inside of this bottom, it was like twice as long as the Bitcoin bottom. I just think that the upside is going to be a lot quicker in pace than what we saw with that cycle. But Dogecoin's going to go into a new all-time high. If we zoom out and look at Dogecoin on the long term, oops, wrong one. Oh, it doesn't have the whole price history. If we look at the whole price history of Dogecoin, though, right here, it looks just like that 2017 cycle, in my opinion, or even the last cycle over here. All very similar. Cycle top, big correction, kind of round out. Cycle top, big correction, kind of round out. Cycle top, big correction, kind of round out. I mean, we're just going to keep repeating this. Obviously, the ROI is going to be smaller with Dogecoin versus other altcoins. But the thing is if Dogecoin's looking bullish and looking like it wants to go into a new all-time high, I think dog-themed memes as a whole are going to really do well. So just be aware of that. Still feeling good about XRP? Yes, I am. Solid X. Oh, yeah. This is a good one to look at, actually. I'm going to go to a different screen, though. So if we're looking at Solid X, what I originally covered about Solid X was the gold fractal. And it ended up following it pretty much perfectly. So we'll go to this one. I'm assuming this is the full price history. Yeah, it is. So I liked this setup, but I didn't know if it was going to hold support up in here. It looked like it was going to hold. However, we ended up following a secondary fractal. So this setup, I'm going to share with you guys an example of this happening 2 different times in this. So keep a mental note, screenshot this exact chart right here. And now I'm going to go share with you guys 2 examples of this exact same fractal. So the first one's going to be gold, because gold did this fractal first, all the way back when it first had its ETF approval. So what is going on here? Okay, remove these drawing tools. What did I do? Oh, okay. Confusing myself, sorry. So basically gold did this exact fractal. It was the first one that I've ever seen do this specific pattern where you get the big run up. If we just zoom in here, it's going to be the same chart if I remove that. But basically we have the run up and then you kind of start this choppy price action and everybody thinks it's going to bottom right here, only for it to go for one more final lower low, get our true cycle low bottom. And then this is what happened shortly after. So gold did this fractal first. And then the second time I saw it was actually with Bitcoin. Bitcoin did this in 2018. And this was actually why, if you go back at the very bottom of our 2018 cycle, I called the bottom of it and I said, the bottom is in gold versus Bitcoin. Like you can literally search that on my channel. And the reason why I was so confident that the 2018 bottom was in was because Bitcoin did this exact same pattern. Obviously, it was a little bit different, mainly just because this was a descending triangle, but it was still the same fractal. We had that choppy price action, and then it takes us to that final rounded bottom of the cycle low. And then obviously we went into a new all-time high, even though the aftermath was a little bit different. So when I'm looking at SolidX, I pretty much just see the exact same accumulation. We're just at the very bottom of it. And the great thing about SolidX is, 316K liquidity is okay. But the market cap is 500 approximately million. And I think that it's probably 100% circulating, not for sure on that. But the supply of SolidX is tiny. I think there's like, I don't remember how many there is, to be completely honest. I wonder if it's even on CoinGecko for me to look at real quick. I don't know what the exact, oh, it is over here. Let's see if they have the data. So the max supply is 21 million. It's got the same supply as Bitcoin. The only difference is there's a huge amount of the supply that's just sitting locked away in these wallets that aren't going to sell. Supposedly, that's not guaranteed, but this just did the exact same fractal that gold did, that all of the other ones did, leading into that final capitulation. So I do believe that the bottom is in for SolidX. I don't think it's going to go any lower. And from where we're at to the prior all-time highs, you're looking at like an 8 or 9x. This is one of those that's, if it follows a new market cycle, it's going to run up to here, probably correct, and it'll do something like that. This is kind of what I think SolidX is going to do. And because it's got a low supply and most of the supply is locked and not going to be sold, it can really move in a big way. And the liquidity isn't that high to where it's not going to take that much money to move it and drive up the price. So I really do think the SolidX is going to do really solid. I didn't even mean that, no pun intended. Anchor. I hear a lot of people talking about this, asking me to cover it. Let's go pull it up. Anchor. This is actually one I made a lot of money on in the last cycle. I was accumulating my Anchor actually right here at the bottom of that COVID capitulation. And I made a good amount of money on this one once it started to break out and go parabolic. But as it stands, Anchor today, I mean, big picture, nothing is really doing a whole lot. It's just kind of sitting at the bottom of this range. It looks like D.I.Y, which if you guys were paying attention at the beginning of this video when I covered that, to me, that's all it's really doing. If I go to a log scale, it'll be easier to kind of draw what happened. L8 wave count is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, extended wave 5. We finished our ABC correction, ABC. And now we finished a wave 1, wave 2, and we're finishing a wave 1 and wave 2 of 3. So all we're doing right now is just completing our subwaves. In my opinion, the next move is going to be very quick, very sudden. Whenever it does bottom, I'm not saying it's just going to go instantly out of this low. But once we bottom, I honestly think that the next move is going to be markup all the way to the top of this wave 5 and wave B. We'll probably pull back, do something like this before getting that next move into price discovery. This is what I'm leaning to with Anchor. It does look bottomed. I don't think that it's going to be breaking down from that, accumulation range. Let's see here. Kind of off topic, but what do you personally do for storing crypto? Do you have like a dedicated laptop? Seems like that could be the best thing. Honestly, when it comes to the dedicated laptop, that's pretty overrated. Like, I mean, it's maybe not overrated, but if you're only using another laptop just to store your crypto and you're just using hot wallets, then it really is overrated. The best thing that you can do is have a software wallet and connect that to a cold storage like a Ledger or a Trezor wallet or something like that, because you get the functionality of both of those. The best thing that you could do is like, Rabby wallet has became really popular. It's the one that I've been using. It will show you all of your tokens on whatever chain it is, all kind of grouped at the same time. So I like it for that reason. So Rabby's been one that I've been using, but I just took my Rabby wallet and I connected it to my Ledger wallet. And then from there, I can now get the full accessibility of a software wallet, but I can actually get the safety of a cold storage of a Ledger or a Trezor wallet. So that's the best thing to do. If you wanted to take it a step above that, you could also have a dedicated laptop that you only use for trading. But the problem with that is anybody can download a Trojan virus. So, I mean, if you had a laptop that you were never doing anything with besides storing, that's fine too. The best thing would be to use like an Apple product just because they have a lot more safety than uh, anything else. So, I would personally, if you're going to pick a laptop just to use, I would go with a MacBook or a Mac device of some kind. And then outside of that, I would get a software wallet and connect it to a Ledger or some other type of cold storage wallet, because then you're going to get the accessibility of both, the safety of the cold storage all in one. So that's what I would recommend. And if you wanted to do that on its own separate laptop, that's just going to further enhance that. But I mean, I got hacked at the bottom of the 2022 bear market for 65 grand. I lost my Solana, which went up 16x. So I mean, like, I got really screwed out of a lot of money in that move. And it was because of the fact I wasn't, being more safe with my software wallets. I didn't actually back them to a Trezor wallet. And so that's just something to be aware of. You don't want to get screwed over, especially not in this cycle. If you're going to be right now, or even when you go to take your profits, it's such a gut wrenching thing to get hacked. Thank God I had the vast majority of my portfolio actually sitting in cold storage. It was just what my hot wallets were holding that got hacked. It's just, I literally had a reoccurring nightmare 3 times after I got hacked. I would wake up, or I would be in my dream, and I would literally like be getting hacked in my dream, and I'd be in some place where like I couldn't get to my wallets, and I would just have to like relive all of that. There was this one time I had the dream happen once, and then I had it happen a second time. And the second time I had the dream, I was getting hacked. I realized that it was a dream, so I forced myself to wake up. And then after I woke up, I went back to sleep, and I went back into the same dream. And so then it like enforced the dream. Like, I thought that was real at that point. And so it was just like terrible. Learn from my mistakes and just be smarter. You're much better off, doing things right the first time rather than getting wrecked and then having to go do things right the second time. So, just be aware of that. But we've basically been at this for 2 hours, so I'm probably going to give it a break. Shout out to everybody that donated. Shout out to everybody that just came in here and supported. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I love doing these. I'm probably going to keep doing these every Friday from this point. Usually by Friday, I'm kind of sick of uploading. And so these are more fun. I can kind of interact with you guys, talk about things from a different perspective, cover your guys' picks that I don't get to as much on my normal channel. But yeah, guys, if you found any value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You guys are probably already subscribed, though, if you're watching this, but shout out to the few that might not be. And with that being said, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. And yeah, with that being said, peace out.